Hey, Noah here. So, it's been a very long time since the last video. We launched the early access for Chef RPG exactly 1 year ago, and it's been sort of a crazy year. I definitely haven't abandoned this channel, and there's tons of video ideas I have for the future. This channel started out as sort of an architecture and design channel, and I do want to keep it that way. Even if we're making video game devlogs, I do want to keep that general theme and not just become an update channel for Chef RPG. Since we have a live game now, I do want to avoid showing too much to avoid spoilers, hence I've been a little hesitant when thinking about what kind of videos to make, but we've reached a point in development where we can start making some interesting videos again. In this video, I want to add festivals to Chef RPG. For most of the games of this kind, you are just doing things by yourself. When there's a festival, you get to come together with the NPCs and do activities together, which is a nice change up. It's really important if you enjoy the social aspects of these games, and it shakes up the regular gameplay loop. From an art and design point of view, festivals are a lot of fun because you can kind of break the rules and vibe of the world you created. A festival is almost like an amusement park, where people are in costumes, there are crazy decorations that wouldn't normally be there, and you participate in these made-up activities for the sake of fun. So there's a lot of potential here to do something more creative. For the sake of not spoiling too much, let's just work on developing one festival for now. I went back all the way to 2020 where I made this small scene with a pumpkin house and a little mini game. I always really liked this house. Back then there was this simple little game of collecting pumpkins that pop up from the ground. I thought we can expand on that by making a full-blown pumpkin hunt that stretches across the entire map, and that will be our festival. So let's begin. Festivals are a massive and time-consuming feature that will take months to develop. The first order of business is to answer some basic questions. How long will a festival last? Who will participate? What happens if you don't participate? Where will the festival take place? Will the festival be instanced or active in the background in the open world? You can ask 100 more questions like this, but I started with this last question. Will it be instanced? Meaning, would the festival exist in an entirely self-contained scene, or will the festival be organically active in the open world? In terms of development, making it instanced is much easier and quicker, and there's less chance of complications or conflicts with other systems. But my first encounter with festivals and games was actually not with life sim games, but in the MMO RuneScape. I remember logging in as a kid during Christmas. When you wander into the town square and see a giant Christmas tree, and you see a bunch of players running around doing whatever the Christmas activity was that year. That felt really cool because it felt like a living world. You can choose to join the activities or just do your own thing, but you can still get the vibe of the festival without having to join in. If you want to chop trees for 5 hours instead of doing the festival activity, you can still do that while feeling the holiday spirit. That's one decision made. We'll do it the hard way. Have festivals running in the background in the open world. That way you can enjoy the festival vibe while doing your own thing if you want to. Because festivals are going to be active in the background, NPCs will need to divert their schedules on festival days, and they will not go about their normal activities. This could impact quests, shops, and dates, so we'll have to come back to this one and make sure every conflict is accounted for. Next, let's pick a time and location for the Pumpkin Hunt Festival. Previously, we made this small little map just for the pumpkin house, but if we want this festival to have a presence in the open world, it should really take place right in the middle of a large map. Out of all the outdoor maps we have, the swamps seem to work the best. The water and trees match the pumpkins visually, and this is a map that is available to you right in the beginning of the game. Autumn makes the most sense as a season for this festival to take place. For the main events, we really only need 1 day, but I thought it would be interesting if you can see fragments of a festival before the main event. What if we can see NPCs setting up a festival the day before? I think it would make it feel more real that way. So in the spirit of complicating the game even more, let's add a day just for NPCs setting up the event. We could maybe have a little cutscene where you can see the characters setting up, and it works as a reminder that a festival is happening the next day. For this particular festival, I think it would be interesting if someone plants the seed for the pumpkin house, and you can see it grow bigger and bigger as you approach the event day. It doesn't make a lot of sense if a giant pumpkin house just appeared out of nowhere. For each festival, there should be a main host, someone that directs the activities. For the pumpkin hunt, I chose the character Valentina for this job. Since her character is interested in spooky things and she is a doctor that has access to a variety of hard-to-get compounds, she fits the role better than the other characters. She can be the one that plants the genetically enhanced seed, and for the next few days, players should be able to see the seed grow into a pumpkin. there are still a lot of decisions we have to make, and these decisions will really impact the gameplay and player experience. One thing I had to think about a lot is, do we just leave the scene there and hope the player discovers it on that specific day? Chances are, a lot of players will probably miss it. They could be running the restaurant or off gathering things on the other side of the map. I felt that the best solution was to just immediately teleport the player to the scene right away during the morning that the festival is being set up. That way, it's a little surprise for the player that adds a bit of variety to the daily routine, and the player can watch a short cutscene that tells you there's an upcoming festival. A few days before the festival, when the player leaves the home in the morning, they will immediately be teleported to the swamps. It would be interesting if Valentina gives you an optional side quest to grow a few extra pumpkins. This way, not only are you helping set up, but you can earn a unique reward while you're doing it. Now that the basics are ready, let's prepare the main festival site. We know that the house will be the focal point, so it should be placed at the center of the map. Everything else should be assembled around the house. Our animator Clement really helped a lot with the festival assets. I'm pretty good at drawing buildings and machines, but he's better at drawing organic things and animations. He made this massive bundle of pumpkins and pumpkin-themed decorations for us to use. We can just place these all over the map. These individual pumpkins will be perfect for the main event. No festival is complete without some good old-fashioned capitalism. We should have shops where you can spend money to buy unique items. To encourage players to play the festival games, I decided to add a different currency just for festivals. You can earn these by participating in events and exchange them for these unique festival-themed treats. Finally, we need a main event booth. This should be like a focal point of the festival. We need a location for players to sign up for the main competition, so this booth can serve that task. Let's make a simple UI for this booth. We can include features like viewing the rewards and asking questions, which might be helpful for new players. This booth should stand out a lot, so in this case, the pumpkin house is perfect for that role. The interior of the pumpkin should look freshly carved, like when you carve a jack-o'-lantern. I'm thinking there should be seeds hanging and stringy pieces of pumpkin flesh here and there. We can spice it up with some decorations and a main desk for the event host. So that's about it for the visuals. Now let's make the main event. Again, we need to go back and ask a few questions. The important things to think about are, when can you sign up for the main event? What happens if you miss the sign up? What happens when the festival ends? Is there a distinguishable end? I felt that the best way to address these questions was with a visual festival timeline, because it can get confusing fast. When you arrive, there should be an introductory cutscene. You see all the guests gathering, and the host should give a speech. The festival commences, but you're not forced to participate yet. Next, we should set a time limit for when to sign up. Let's add a point in the timeline here. There should be a hard cutoff, so if you arrive late, there should be no intro cutscene, and you will no longer be able to sign up. Let's give the player a few hours, maybe sometime late in the afternoon, so it'll be hard to miss. Finally, there should be an end to the festival. When we reach this point in time, a cutscene should play where the host gives another speech to conclude the festival. Now, we have a rough timeline established. Let's try to implement it. First, we build an intro cutscene where the player is introduced to the entire event area and the main idea behind the event. After the cutscene, we should have a timer to remind the player to sign up. So anytime before the deadline, the player can go into the pumpkin house to begin. Since every festival game is different, we need some kind of tutorial so that the player actually knows what they're supposed to do. In the past, we've had these sort of text box tutorials, which I think are fine for simple features, but recently I've been trying to implement more engaging tutorials where a character shows you what to do in real time or with a cutscene. We can see the competitors and spectators assembled, and Valentina can give a quick tutorial on what the game is. My initial idea was to place the pumpkins all over the map, and you search for them across the whole world. The more you destroy, the more points you earn, and you'll have a time limit of 10 minutes to try to smash more pumpkins than your opponents. I've been gradually bringing on more QA and playtesters into the project, and one of our new playtesters had really good feedback for us. He felt that this initial design of the pumpkin hunt was kind of boring because you just wander around for 10 minutes looking for the same pumpkins, but nothing really changes. It pretty much gets old after about 2 minutes. At this point, we had 4 other festival events ready, and he felt that this was actually the weakest game out of all of them. So the feedback makes a lot of sense. In game development, sometimes you spend so much time staring at your own project, you lose sight of what's fun or what's good design. I play a lot of games, and it's stuff I'd totally be able to see if I play someone else's game, but I've been staring at this project for like 60 to 70 hours a week for the past 5 years, and sometimes you lose the ability to objectively evaluate the things you've made, especially when there's a time crunch. Since the initial idea isn't working, let's change some things. Instead of one long 10-minute session, let's break it up into 5 short 90-second rounds. Instead of letting the player freely wander the entire open world, each round should lock the player into a single map. This way, it's contained in a smaller space, and we can make each round more unique. Instead of having pumpkins give a flat score, let's add a combo system where the faster you smash pumpkins, the higher your combo meter. Finally, let's add some more varieties of pumpkins. We can have a pumpkin that gives less score but boosts your combo, a pumpkin that gives no score but gives you more tokens, and a bomb pumpkin that you'll have to avoid, which can hurt your score and combo if you get hit. Since we have 5 rounds, we can gradually introduce new pumpkins each round, and the player can slowly build up familiarity. At the beginning of each round, we can have the host make an announcement introducing a new pumpkin type. After playing through the game again, it does feel much better than wandering around hitting the same pumpkins for 10 minutes. Another tester mentioned that the game feels better if you have clumps of pumpkins, so you can hit several at once. It's less exciting if they're all by themselves and spread out, and you can only hit one at a time. After trying it out, it does feel more fun to hit several at a time, and you can implement a little bit of strategy into how you approach a cluster. Now that the game is set, we can finish up with a leaderboard so you can see how your competitors are doing. Depending on how you place, you should be able to claim a reward at the end, so let's make some unique gift boxes for competitors. After the event is over, the player can just walk over to the box and get a special prize. Our animator Clement has been working on a lot of new particle animations for us, so I definitely want to introduce these more and more into the game. Characters should have unique dialogues during each festival, which our writer Nick worked on for a couple months. And our musician did a lot of amazing new soundtracks for our festivals updates, which are playing in the background. So that was a pretty quick overview of festivals. In reality, there were tens of thousands of lines of code that needed to be written to make a feature like this, and tons of little conflicts to solve. Sometimes they interfere with a quest or an NPC's daily schedule. There are weird combinations of things that can happen, like what happens if you pass out in your restaurant while doing a quest service during an active festival. We had to do a ton of testing this time to iron out these weird exceptions. With an open world game like this, there are thousands of possibilities of things that can happen, especially if I want to preserve as much player freedom as possible. There always seems to be weird ways the game can break. Just last week, we've been making some much needed improvements for the pathfinding script, and one seemingly harmless line of code had an impact on cutscenes. Right now, we have 160 cutscenes in the game, which is kind of crazy because I have no recollection of adding that many. Because of the change we made to the pathfinding, only one cutscene out of 160 decided to break. And the frustrating thing is, it only sometimes breaks. We can play through that scene and totally miss that there's an issue. So there's these weird exceptions that's been biting us for the past year. After a while, I just realized we literally need like 100 testers to catch the bugs, and even then, a few might still slip through. Luckily, I've found a decent way to facilitate this kind of mass testing, and for a reasonable price. We definitely need to scale up the testing when we eventually do the 1.0 launch. It's been a tough development process, but it's definitely inspiring to see the growing community and support for the game. Since launch, tons of YouTubers have made videos on Chef RPG. A YouTuber, TVT, did a 100 days in the game video, and another YouTuber, Kaganath, made several video guides. And of course, our biggest supporter, Sharky, has been making tons of videos since our initial launch. There are a ton of others, which are all super appreciated, even the critiques of the game. For any creator, it can be hard to read critiques or negative reviews, but you kinda just have to suck it up and do it. Because after fixing some of the things that people were criticizing, the reactions to the game become noticeably better, and we no longer get complaints about that particular feature that was fixed. It's also been amazing to see community posts about the game. A community member made a wiki for the game in the first few weeks, and we've had a lot of fan art made for our characters. Our character artist initially reached out to me 4 years ago wanting to be a volunteer and just design a few characters, and now it's pretty exciting for her to see that there's all this fan art of her characters. I also frequently see a ton of people displaying their restaurant designs, which is cool because it reminds me of a long time ago when I was playing the Facebook game Restaurant City, and people would share their restaurant builds. In terms of production, the scope of the game has definitely increased far beyond what I initially planned for, and it feels like every month we're adding more and more things. I think it's a natural part of the development process. Sometimes you start developing a feature and you realize that one feature needs extra features to feel good, so you add those extra features in addition to the original feature you wanted to add. For example, we have several boss monsters we've made that are ready to go, but we haven't added them into the game yet because if there's a boss, you should have a unique battle arena for it. Ideally, there would be a quest and a story around that boss because you don't want to just plop a boss into the game without any context. On top of that, there should be a unique music for the boss as well. I've been learning to adjust for things like that. Sometimes one feature needs a lot of stuff around it to feel good. Because of stuff like that, I'm currently sitting on a giant pile of assets that our team has made but haven't been added to the game yet. Based on feedback from the early access, I've kind of shifted the development process to prioritize more important things like the restaurant and cooking, and the first 10 hours of gameplay. The secondary features like bosses, romance, and new areas could always be added later. I'd say one mistake we made for the early access launch was spending a little too much time on things that aren't important at the early stages. I think there are things that players would want eventually, but given a limited time, and since we're doing early access, you should definitely prioritize things like the main gameplay loop and the first 10 hours of the game more. In the initial early access, we had things that get unlocked after like 30 hours of play, which in hindsight wasn't a great idea if we haven't added everything we need to for the early game. One of the main points of contention with the game was with the cooking gameplay, which we've been in the process of figuring out ourselves. Only recently did I have this eureka moment and figured out a way to solve the balance between the cooking minigames and the restaurant management, so that's what we'll be working on for the next couple months. Sometimes we get comments that the cooking in this game should be like X game or Y game, but I've actually played a lot of those games mentioned in the past and I just didn't enjoy them, hence why we didn't go in those directions. The entire cooking genre is pretty niche, and every game does it a little differently. That one cooking game that one person enjoys, I'd say the vast majority of people probably won't like it, so I felt it's better to experiment a bit and do it our own way. But I think the original cooking games we made can definitely be improved a lot more because in hindsight, they don't really represent the act of cooking that well. Since cooking is the core, at the very least, the minigames should feel fun and exciting to play. After some playing around, I felt that a better way to approach cooking is with using physics. It's fun to watch ingredients bounce around and react to your movements in real time. Even better is if every dish is slightly different, so the minigames feel fresh each time. Before, we had this barista machine minigame where you had to press buttons and align a meter to a target. This was changed to a drink pouring game that relies on fluid physics, where every recipe is slightly different. Even now, the game is pretty simple, and there's technically more stuff we can add to it, but playing with fluids like this already feels a lot more fun than doing a simple button pressing game. So we're currently in a process of overhauling the cooking by introducing physics and trying to create a better representation of cooking. Down the road, physics-based cooking could even let us customize dishes on the fly, but we can save that for a future video. That's where we are with the project so far, and we're at a good point in development where we can start making some interesting videos again. Just a big thank you for the community for being with us all this time and all the content creators making videos, even during the early access period. The early access is definitely extremely important to us because we get a ton of good feedback and we can still adjust things pretty quickly. Every morning I get up excited to work on this thing, and it gets more and more exciting as we get closer to the 1.0 because some of the really cool stuff is coming near the end. So that's about it. Thank you for watching. More videos are coming, so hope to see you soon.